Hi, my name is Mark Jankovich. I am the founder of Delphis. I'm very excited to be at Savernake Knives with Laurie Timpson, who is the founder and the master craftsman of his incredible products. Delighted that Laurie is going to be on the front of our new glass and stainless steel cleaner, as we are putting new heroes on the front of our bottles. And I've got lots of questions to ask Laurie about his business and where he's come from and how he's here. Tell me, tell me about you and tell me about how you started Savernake Knives.
Right, the short version is, I suppose, I was in the army a long time ago when I was thin and keen, and I left in 2001. And a lot of people who leave the army go and work as estate agents or go to the city, they go straight into commerce, make some money. And I didn't really want to do that, so I went to South Sudan and I ran an aid project out there. And I just moved into that really for the next 15 years, and I cleared landmines for a Scottish charity. And I went and did my MBA in Cape Town, which I greatly enjoyed. And then I did a few more sort of commercial projects. I worked in Liberia looking for gold. I ran a power station in Nairobi. I did some operations interventions in Ethiopia. And about 10 years ago, my father sadly died, and I was nearly 40, and I was having a lovely time being young, well, youngish, free and single, and I thought probably time to grow up a bit. So I moved back here. In no short order, I met my lovely wife, Arabella. I moved out of London down to our little cottage off the grid about a mile away from here. And I started working with data, because that had been a common theme all the way through my professional career after I left the army. But there's only so much time you can spend looking at Excel every day. And so I rented a little room and I forged an axe. It's great. Why not? And I forged a little axe. So I looked into knives. I wanted to make a stainless steel knife, and you can't really make that by forging it. And I discovered that at that time, really, to get a stainless steel knife made to your design would take you probably 6 months, cost you a lot of money, and you'd have to go to about 4 or 5 different companies. So I started off on my own 6 years ago. Absolutely no idea what I was doing, ringing up suppliers and saying, can your machine make knives? And I bought one of those, and I taught myself how to use that, and I basically self-taught for the next 4 or 5 years. And I would say finally now, about 6,000 knives in, we're pretty much where I wanted to be.
So now you're listed at Fortnum & Mason, which is
yes, which is wonderful. Yeah,
amongst many other places.
Yes, yes. The main point is it's an incredibly good knife, though I say so myself. I mean, it's the very good steel, made in small batches, hardened incredibly well. The geometry is fantastic, the balance is fantastic, the weight is fantastic, fantastically comfortable. It's got a brilliant. If you don't have that, if you don't have a really good product, which you know about, then you can't. It doesn't matter how much of the other stuff you slap on top. So you've got to get that bit right first.
Well, I think the handcrafted creativity and the love and attention you give every single unit that leaves this building is what makes them so incredibly special.
In this day and age, with disposable society, people have many more cheaper made generic things rather than things made for them. And knives are one of the few things left, I suppose, which are made for you. So this is your knife, it's got your name on it. So you have a sort of a sentimental attachment to it, and you have a practical, functional attachment to it. And because you have those things, you look after it. And you use your honing steel, you care for it, you keep it clean. And because you do those things, it continues to function well. And it's a really virtuous circle that just keeps on moving forward.
From a sustainable supply chain perspective, tell us a little bit about how you find all your suppliers.
On the metal side of it, we select the metal. You have to select the metal for its functionality. And so we use a Sandvik 14C28N. And interesting, stainless steel, almost all stainless steel is 95% recycled. So there is a degree of ecological benefit to it, using stainless over non-stainless. On the materials side of it, for the handles and things like that, then we have much more control. So our packaging, for example, is entirely made from recycled card. It doesn't have any plastic in it. The cork comes from a sustainable plantation for the little bung in Portugal. And then handle materials, we love using solid surfaces, and there's a solid surface by people called Durat, which is a post-industrial recycled waste that's completely recycled. And so we are making a product which that will last a lifetime. If you decide you don't want it to last a lifetime, you can take the handle off, that's recyclable. You take the brass pins out, they're recyclable, and the steel is ultimately recyclable as well. But I think, as you were saying, the main thing for us is that if you don't have to remake something, if you're not making it lots and lots of times, you are just consuming less resources. You use the resources once and you make something which lasts forever. And we believe passionately in that for our knives. And as a group of individuals, we just are not wholly sort of into or sold on the disposable throwaway culture.
I'm desperate to know who some of your customers are. You're allowed to tell us, because I know you make knives for some of the most amazing restaurants in the world.
Yes, so we've made knives for lots of the top chefs, as it were. Two real main groups of customers. The first one is professional chefs, ones who are actually working in their kitchens, in their establishment, day in, day out, and they buy our knives, and then they buy another knife, and they buy another knife, because they think they get it. They understand what a good knife is meant to be. And the other one is women, and it generally is women, cooking for their families, and every day they have a terrible knife, which is just an abomination unto the eyes of the Lord. It's no fun. So they will go and they'll end up buying pre-cut stuff from supermarkets because their knife is so terrible. And everybody should feel like an artist at the chopping board. It's a very simple pleasure to achieve. You need a good knife and a good chopping board. Those two customers, and then we have everybody in between. I mean, we have ones whose main problem in life is trying to figure out what to spend their money on. We have other people who have exactly the other problem, which interestingly enough, the younger customers now, I find they'll send me emails asking me, why is it good? They're really doing their product research, and they're really narrowing down who they want, because they are going to invest in something good.
Absolutely, it is an investment. I mean, I suppose I fall into the for disclosure, I am a customer, and I think that's how we met. I knocked on the door and went, "You make knives. I'm in the market."
I pointed at the sign saying Savernake knives.
Yeah.
Yes, clearly. Yes.
I think I'm in the right place.
Yes, I'm in the right place. Yeah.
And
we made you 2 sets of knives, I believe.
You did, and they are just the most incredible things to use.
And one from wood from your log cabin, your firewood barn, which was quite satisfying to use.
Yeah, we're very circular in our supply chain to go, well, let's use something that's existing. And you were telling me about wood that you had access to was an old bench, which was made out of some beautiful wood, which was 100 years old, and you're taking that and making the handles out of beautiful old wood from different places. And I think that logic is so important.
Yeah, I think there's ourselves, and there's knife makers and pen makers, and we work on that scale. That's a bit of wood we want to look at. So, aesthetically, we're looking for different things, because what works really well for a huge chest of drawers does not work well at that scale. But the other thing is we want offcuts, we want random bits, and particularly for some woods like oak, you want that oak to be as old as possible. So old beams, and no one else can use them because they've got sort of nails in them and everything else. We'll take those beams, the old knackered ones which have got, and out of that we'll extract, real beauty. And so we have a very good relationship with all the timber merchants around here. There's a few furniture makers around here who we know, and they just collect together the odds and the sods of their lovely offcuts, and we buy them from them, and then we turn them into lovely handles. But it's fascinating to meet someone who has both, obviously clearly very strong commercial sense, but has what I would call the softer senses as well, values, which are above and beyond the bottom line. So I'm just fascinated, if you had to try and summarize what the Delphis Eco values are, what do you feel they are?
I think there's really two core elements to who we are as a business, and one is uncompromising on the product, and using uncompromising in the name, or your quote, I think is aligns very, very tightly to us. So uncompromising on the product. The products have to work every time, and they have to be made with the most considered formulations, and we need to constantly be thinking about how we can just make them better and better and better. And then the second piece is the social value piece. So the social value for me is how do we employ people in the UK? How do we maintain local jobs? How do we reduce the carbon elements of everything that we do, everything that we touch, our entire supply chain? So those two pieces are absolutely critical to us at our core. And I think having knocked on the door and walked in here and seen your space and your world, it feels like that is exactly how you see things.
Yes, and I think again, as a company of 8 people, I suppose it comes back to the question of why bother choosing an ecological product? Because if everybody thinks like that, then nothing's ever going to get better. So you just do it, and it's if you have a fantastic product like you do, so everything, all things being equal, assuming you have 2 products, and one is not ecological, it's not being sourced correctly, but you would buy the one which has.
I got asked a question. Where do you see my business going? And I said the job of a CEO is to be thinking 18 months out, and in 18 months' time we'll be halfway through the decisive decade, thinking about how if we don't cut our carbon by 50% by 2030, we're in trouble. And the hottest June and now the hottest July. 18 months' time, I hope we will be much better at what we're doing, and we will have converted more people to be trying to live more sustainable lives. And then we are just one little element. And I think a knife is something you don't think about day in, day out. It's there, but when you need it, it does a job, and it absolutely serves a fantastic purpose for years and years and years.
I agree, and there was, I think it's sort of slightly ebbed over now or finished, but not finished. But there was, the artisan movement maybe a decade or so ago. People making things, and I really hope because there's still lots of people in this country making things, that is supported and championed by larger companies such as yourself, because that is on the longevity side of sustainability. And also they are, most of them, getting their stuff locally. So it's a fantastic way of improving the overall sustainability of the country, and it just sort of gets neglected a bit, and it needs supporting because and the customer needs supporting. They need to be given the sort of the confidence, I suppose, to say, okay, instead of actually spending X amount every month, I'm going to do 5X in one go, and it's actually going to work out better for me. And the education for that. And as a small company, it's difficult. And if the big companies don't join in, then it's a pretty big struggle, because our voice is quite tiny and other ones are much larger.
One of my mantras, I'm sure it's not my mantra, but one of the things that I believe in is that if I can think it, it must be true, because I don't believe that I have unique thinking. I think that if I can think it, somebody's done this already. There are much smarter people than me out there, but it's trying to find them. And my thinking around seeing nasty, foamy, dirty water going into a stormwater drain, which is going to go straight into a natural, a nature-based water system, that's really bad. So that my thinking starts there to go, okay, how can I make that different? And then just keep pushing that envelope to go, we must be able to make this better. We must be able to make this more efficiently, or use better ingredients, or what is it that we can do? And the answer is that usually nobody knows the answer, certainly within the UK.
Yeah.
And I think the UK challenge is the hard one, because UK manufacturing, what we do and what you do is relatively unique, in that my life would be so much easier if we were based in France. It would just be so much easier. There are millions of suppliers in France that do what we do, or could do what we wanted to do, but because we're fastidious about making it in Britain, it makes life much harder. But the next gen thinking for us is around how do we take our ingredients. Our ingredients are, whether we use sugar beet or rapeseed or sugar cane, it's still a virgin product. Mm-hmm. How do I take food extracts and or waste food, and then make our cleaning ingredient, the surfactant, out of a second-hand bit of food? And the answer is you can. I've seen it done in the Philippines, where they're taking pineapples and they're cutting all the edgy bits off the pineapple, and they're just chucking them in a vat, and after a couple of months it ferments out, and then what comes out is the cleaning agent. Not done at scale and not done very professionally, but the answer is somebody's done it.
Yeah.
So how do we bring that logic and the genesis of us in the UK was in Australia, where I came across a guy who was making a cleaning agent out of gum tree sap.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, if they can make it out of gum tree sap in Australia, surely we can do it in the UK.
It's remarkable that the way that your stainless steel cleaner doesn't streak. So you get, this is our knife, again, our packaging, which again, we try and be as ecological as possible. That goes in a recycled outer for postage. The card itself is coming from recycled paper, and the cork comes from a sustainable forest or plantation in Portugal. But that's how the knife arrives. And it's inviting you to pick it up and hold it.
Yeah, very smart.
And when you take that out, what are you going to do with it? It's a knife. You go and cut things. And for 5 years, trying to get the very final finish on the blade. So when you take it out, it's going to be a visual inspection by the person who's bought it. Does it look nice? And then they're going to cut something. And to try and find a solution that isn't incredibly fiddly so that it looks good and then it's safe to go and cut with was very, 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 very difficult. And now we have a product. And it's just fascinating to me that, coming back to what you're saying, there's always a better way of doing it. And surely there must be something out there which can do what we want to do. And now we found it.
Yeah, it's asking the tough, not necessarily tough questions. And I think the piece there for both of our businesses that I get asked a lot about, what can I do? A little thing like that makes a big difference, right?
Yeah.
There are products out there. If you and the beauty of us is that I knocked on your door because I was looking for a knife and you needed a more eco-friendly finishing solution for your product. So, and when you layer them all up and then you go, you listed at Fortnum & Mason's, we listed at Fortnum & Mason's. We both make stuff in the UK. We're both passionate about UK production. There are lots of layers.
But it's which is all true. But I think it's not worth. It's important not to lose sight of the fact that what I was looking for before I met you, and my eyes open slightly, I was looking for something better. That was my criteria. And if you had come to me and said, well, this isn't actually quite as good, but it's made here, I'd be saying, I'm trying to get something to do its job, and that's what it does. And if you don't do that, go all the way back to our values, it's got to be the best of its job, uncompromising. Because if you don't try and always make it better, then you're never going to get anywhere. You're never going to convince people to move out of the disposable throwaway society if what you're not making is considerably better than that which they can buy with and dispose.
So Laurie, we are super delighted to have you on the front of our brand new glass and stainless steel product, which will be on show in supermarkets across the country. An uncompromising glass and stainless steel cleaner with a spotless, streak-free shine every time. There you go.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Mark.
you.
An honour.